Hello, Maxwell. Welcome to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you on today because you are from Cape May, where we live, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
We're discussing Maxwell's beautiful new book that really just pays such tribute to both his daughter and the place that we live, Cape May. It's a really beautiful, special place to raise a family. And I just had to talk to you about it. As we said before we started, this is a book that's been a long time coming. And I'm just so thankful that you made it happen and that we get to talk about it today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So, where did your maker career begin? You and your wife own a studio, Moran Made Studios. You make beautiful jewelry, clothing, this book, you've got some purses. Where did your maker career begin?
It started kind of as a little hobby, doing little gifts for people here and there, being creative. I'm a graphic designer and an artist, so I always loved doing things with my hands. And I think that also sparked a little bit of creativity in my wife, who loved jewelry and makeup and such. So she's always wanted to do jewelry. She did it when she was younger, just, those little bracelets that you tie together kind of thing with beads.
Hmm.
So now then she transitioned to these really intricate little beads. And so that sparked her creativity. And I was like, well, we're both creative. Why not start our own little creative business and try to sell on the side from our regular full-time jobs? And it kind of sparked probably right during COVID, where we were like, we have a little time on our hands. Why not just kind of continue?
Hmm. I love that. And I love that it came from a time where you guys were able to be together and kind of rest and recuperate and figure out like, well, what do we want to do? We've got this energy and this creativity to get out there. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I was doing things here and there from time to time before that, and she was too. And we were like, no, like we're together. And it kind of sparked as the Morans are doing it, so it's like okay. And the logo that I designed is like almost like a little made stamp, like Moran made. So you stamp it onto every little thing. So that kind of where
Hmm.
the inspiration came from.
Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful logo. I geek out for all things branding, and once I recognized it was a family business, I was like, "Oh my God, I love this." Husband and wife efforts are beautiful, like you have a life together, you build a family together, you have a beautiful daughter, and it makes sense if that's already in your wheelhouse to kind of just birth that together too. And it's really beautiful what you guys have been able to create. It's very
Thank you.
inspiring, especially the
Thank you
book.
very much.
I don't want to
Yeah.
rush ahead to the book though, because you are full of so many surprises. And I think running a business with your wife that you both chose to start during COVID probably speaks a lot to your mindsets and your personalities. You guys are go-getters, achievers, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah, entrepreneurs, go-getters. I'm always trying to find the next hustle,
Mhm.
to just strive to do as much as we can. Everyone
Mhm.
asks, like, how do you have time to do that? I'm like, you make time.
Mhm.
It's not easy. We have a 4-year-old daughter, toddler, who is always with us constantly.
Mhm.
But when we get creative, she gets creative. She gets to play and do things too. And we have her little easel and her little markers and pencils and crayons and stuff. So she gets to draw with us and
Oh
be
man.
creative with us.
Oh man. I'm a crier. You got me there. I love I was a daddy's girl. My father since passed away, but he was an entrepreneur as well. And it was really, it shifted my brain. I wasn't a very good employee outside of a waitress around Cape May, like I did move to Philly after college, and the entrepreneurial bug just gets embedded when you see that from a young age, just growing up. So, does she
Yeah.
have any kind of idea what you guys are doing, or that this is kind of like the family business? Does that click for her yet?
Yeah, yeah, she definitely knows. And she was there throughout the whole process of doing the illustrations of the book. Um, I mean, we walked around Cape May taking photographs of all the sights and scenes, walking on the beach with her, going to ice cream shops, just taking photos. I said, "Well, you got to pose with your ice cream." And so she definitely knew the process was going, but it was a 2-year process. So she was only 2 at the
Wow.
time.
Wow.
when I started, but then now she's 4 when it finally came out. But every time I'm drawing on my tablet, while doing the illustration, she's like, "Is that me?" And then she calls Kate May my Kate May. So
Oh,
she goes, "Is that my Kate May?" And I was like, "Yes, that's your Kate May." And so
oh.
she definitely knows what's going on, especially when mom is beating. She wants to beat too. So
Oh, so beautiful. And, it really does set the tone for her, at least knowing that creativity is a fun place to spend her time because you guys do,
yes.
which I think is a really cool trait to pass on. So that's awesome. Okay. I'll stop fangirling. Let's talk about the book. I immediately upon seeing just a photo of it on Instagram, your daughter's eyes, which I'm sure are just as full of light in real life as they are in this book, literally stole my soul. I was like, holy moly, this beautiful baby in this picture. And
Thank
then to kind of like just see her, I don't want to give away the details of the book, but to see her experience and the awe and the wonder, like how on earth, I can barely draw a stick figure. I know you heard that a lot, I'm sure, but
you. Yes.
how on earth did you embed such emotion and just you set the scene. You can tell that it's a young child, literally just living and moving in the way that they do, that I think as adults we take for granted sometimes, unless you're a parent and you're seeing it every day, that awe and that
Yeah.
wonder. But how on earth do you illustrate that?
Well, I think it came from a lot of, like I said, the reference photos that we did around Cape May. Seeing her and playing with her while doing these photos and her face lighting up while we're on the beach and playing with the seashells and getting the
Mhm.
ice cream, walking the mall, seeing all of it all. And I think with the photographs as reference photos is just it captured it all. Like her eyes lit up every time we did something new. So I think that's where the emotion came into play when I was illustrating it as well.
Wow, you nailed it. You absolutely
Yeah.
nailed it. It is so lifelike that immediately makes you want to buy the book, which I think was a great side effect for the cover photo you chose because it really does immediately take you back, at least to when you were young, to remember and be like, wow, yeah, the beach. Like, what was it
Hmm.
like when I went? I loved it. The nature, the scenes, ice cream.
Yeah,
Like, ice cream is so synonymous with going to the beach for the summertime.
for sure. Like I can't tell you how many times we were on the beach and she hears the cart guy that goes around with the ice
Mhm.
cream, like yelling down the beach, and she just lights up, and it's like, oh my God, I gotta go get ice cream.
Yeah.
And it was funny this year. We let her get her own ice cream from the ice cream man, and
Oh
like we
my
sat back,
God.
and here's your money. Make sure you give them the money and pick
Uh-huh.
out your own ice cream. And it was just, that experience growing up when I was doing it, it was, I couldn't wait for summertime to do that. And
Hmm.
now I get to see it through her eyes. So,
Was that the Fudgy Wudgy Man?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to the Kellys, the Fudgy Wudgy Man. Um, I would love to know a little bit about the actual illustration process. I am a complete newbie, so I apologize for these questions, but I'm sure most people listening don't really know much about illustration either. So, where do you begin for creating a project like this? I know that you were gathering photos. Is that kind of step one for you, gathering that information?
Yeah, gathering information. I knew there were certain key points, key areas that I wanted to capture in the book. Even
Mhm.
before writing, I knew that I wanted to do them all. I knew I wanted to have the lighthouse,
Mhm.
and I wanted to do the carriage rides and trolley tours.
Mhm.
Those were like the ones I'm like, those are iconic to Cape May.
Mhm.
So I had to capture good, reference photos of those items. So obviously, me and Avery went around looking for those key items and key poses and just took a ton of reference photos. From
Okay.
there, I take the photos and I bring them to my tablet, my iPad, and I use a program called Procreate. And I literally have the photo on my tablet and started using it as like a guide, almost tracing over her, enlarging her head a little bit to make it a little cartoony, and then paint drawing over top of it to make it like look like actual illustration and painterly.
Oh,
So I was
yeah,
using the reference photos really heavily, and especially with the lighting and everything. I would
yeah,
go like almost, sunset to get that glow.
yeah. Very cool. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense for me in the process. I tried not to ask my husband any questions. He went to art school. I'm like, no, no, Maxwell will help me learn today how this works. Um, and I love the fact that you already had these talents at your usage. You are a graphic designer, so you just create,
Mhm.
create, create all day. But did this project feel differently for you, like while you were making it? Was this like a little more relaxing or fun, or what was the head space when you're approaching this?
So it was a little bit more relaxing, but I'm my biggest critic. I'm really hard on myself when it comes to art. So when I was going through the motions and sitting there, I'd put my daughter to bed, and then I'm up at night because I do my best work at night. I don't
Mhm.
know why. I'm not a morning person. I'll Even in college, I would go. I wouldn't even start a project until 12 o'clock at night. You know, so I like it's like a magic hour of like
Mhm.
nighttime and just going and grinding on and starting to draw. But
Mhm.
yeah, like I'm my biggest critic, so yeah, it's just it's tough.
Mhm. It looks like it is something that requires a blend of freedom and perfectionism, I guess.
Yeah, it's I didn't know when to stop on certain parts. Like,
Uh,
do I add more detail? Do I add more lighting? And I think the cover was one of the first illustrations I did of the book.
mhm, mhm,
Started, sketching it out and then adding color and adding the lighting and everything, adding the background, trying to figure out what I wanted to do to, for the lettering and keeping space for the title and everything.
mhm,
So I think I worked on the cover the longest, even though that's not as the most detailed of the cover of the book.
mhm.
But it was a labor of love for sure. After a while, I'm like, I just want to get this done. It's like
Yeah.
I need to get this done. I need to stop working on this and just keep going and go to
Yeah.
the next. So yeah, it was fun and exciting, but definitely a labor of love.
Yeah. What was there like a moment when you were able to look at the cover and you're like, all right, put the pen down, step away. Like this is
Yeah,
it.
yeah, for sure. And it's funny too. After I put the pen down and I did most of the other pages of the book, I went back to the cover and I noticed other things that I didn't notice before.
Mm,
So I
mm.
made a couple more edits to it.
Cool. So you needed a time away, a bit of
Yeah,
space.
yeah,
Cool.
for sure.
That makes sense. Yeah. I have that same process for writing things. Again, have almost zero artistic ability with like my hands. I try. I
Mhm.
probably look very similar to Avery's beautiful work that you hang on the fridge from school. um, but I do really admire just watching my husband create alone the zone that you enter
Mhm.
into and all the genius that happens in that space. And it's so interesting to just watch an artist take that breather. And when you come back, it's almost like these little glitter moments where you're like, oop, okay, that, done. Perfect.
Yeah,
Without having overworked it too much. So that's cool
yeah,
to hear
for
that
sure.
that's like your process. I
Yeah,
love
and
that.
even when I got my very first sample copy from the printer, I went back and made edits to the whole book again afterwards,
Mm.
just
So
because I wanted to
what's
see it on paper.
Is there a big difference between the digital version and the printing that once you saw the quality, you were like, "Ooh, didn't think about that, have to fix this or that." What were those issues?
Yes, well, one, printing can tend to get darker,
Ah,
and when you print it versus like the digital, and you see it all really bright and lit up, especially the
yeah,
cover.
yeah.
I had a digital version of the cover, and then when I got it printed, the shadows were even darker than I thought. But it
Mm,
almost gave it that charm of like, because it is a good night book. And I
yeah,
didn't at first I was like, oh no, like we got to redo this. Like we need to lighten it up, But then I took a couple days and looked at it again and kept looking at it. I'm like, you know what? I kind of like that. It gave it its charm, you know, and the
Yeah.
highlights make it even more and zone in on her face because the contrast of the
Yeah.
dark and light. And
Yeah.
I started loving it. I said, you know what? I'm not changing that. You know, like I like the darkness of it.
That's beautiful. It grew on you. The personality of it was,
Yeah.
and you can see it. You really do see it. And it does set the tone for the fact that one, this is a bedtime book, probably, or a
Hmm.
nap time book, I would imagine. And then, like children do when they're avoiding going down for that bedtime or that nap, they want to recount all of their favorite things of the day or, their favorite stuff. You
Yep.
do really, it takes you directly into the bedroom sitting on that rocking chair, like, okay, come on. Like, let's
Yep.
just read this little book. Daddy wants to go color. But it comes across in a very lifelike way. It's
Mhm.
surreal almost. The emotion that her little
Mhm.
peepers, those eyeballs are so they just evoke so much. Like that she's thinking about her favorite place and her favorite things. And like she loves it so much and she loves you and she wants to talk about this special thing with you. Like it really you can see that a father made this book. Like one that loves his child and has a very good relationship with them and has paid attention and watched them grow throughout time. Like it's a special look into your relationship with your daughter. It's really beautiful.
Thank you very much. Yeah, she's daddy's little girl, so
She's so cute. And her holding the book, I'll if you'd like, I'll tag your Instagram, but her
yeah.
just so proud holding that book. What does it feel like for you to just see her recognize now and be like, this is me. This is my Kate May. My daddy made this. Come talk to me.
Yes. I'm not sure if she quite understands fully uh, the meaning behind it, but the fact that she's getting this attention now, and
Hmm.
everyone's like, you're famous," and she lights up when somebody buys the book,
Hmm.
when she's with me, and she's like, "Can I sign it? Can I sign it?" Like she wants to sign it, so.
Oh, I'm done.
I I actually, when I did the book signing, I actually had a book signing yesterday. I'm doing another
I
one
saw
next
that.
weekend, at West End Garage. And I made a stamp. I had her sign her name, and I made a stamp out of it so that when I'm not with her, she can still sign her book.
Oh my God. What an angel you are. I'm crying over here. You got me. I'm done. So she definitely is very aware of the fact that, daddy's hard effort and his hard work has brought this thing that people love and they smile when they buy it from my
Yes.
dad. And then I get to stamp my name on it because that's me.
Yep, that's
That's
me.
beautiful.
And she's my little salesperson. She when we were doing a photo shoot in Cape May with the book, she would walk around, "Do you want to buy my book? Do you want to buy it?" Like, and she's like showing people my book, and I couldn't tell you how many people bought it, but just because she's asking them, "Do you want to buy my
Yeah.
book?"
Yeah. And it's not a hard sell. It honestly, I mean, we're the number one family beach resort in America. So people know where Cape May is, no matter where
Yep.
you are, they've heard of Cape May. And, either they're in a place now where maybe they're our age and they remember when they were small first coming here and now they have children. Like it's an anticipatory buy. You're gonna buy it. If you're walking around Cape May, you're gonna buy it. If you're hearing someone talk about your book, they're gonna buy it online. It's just one of those things that I think will be passed down through families throughout time, or it'll be kept at the beach house for,
Yeah.
summer nap times. Like it's just such a special way that you've both been able to honor your daughter and her experience in Cape May, but also just allowing people I think the moment to just really harness and slow down and remember what it feels like when they're able to be in Cape May together as a family, enjoying that time. Or, it's the middle of winter and kids are stir crazy. Like let's go read the Cape May book and like think about summertime. Like you've just given such a beautiful physical reminder of what is such a special time for people when they do get to come down to Cape May. It's really smart marketing wise,
Yeah.
and outside of that, it's just a beautiful thing to give to people. So, was that something you considered the what would we call that? Like the nostalgia factor of it, I guess. Was that something you considered when creating the book?
I didn't think about it quite while I was creating it. It kind of happened after it was kind of done. I'm like, this is going to be like, like Goodnight Moon was the inspiration. And
Hmm.
that's everybody knows Goodnight Moon, and everybody's
Hmm.
had read the stories over and over again. That was
Yeah.
my daughter's first book that we got. It was from a
Okay.
friend, and it was, I think it was even before she was born. They gave it to us as like, a gift for us having a baby. It was baby shower maybe. And
Oh.
so when she was born, I read it to her every night. She loved it, and I knew I always wanted to do a children's book, and I didn't know what about.
Yeah.
And reading every night different children's books with Avery, I it kind of just sparked, and I was like, oh my God, like Kate May, she loves Kate May, she loves Goodnight Moon, why not? Like, it just kind
Hmm.
of happened.
Yeah.
And after it was done, it was definitely of like, this is going to be a nostalgia piece. Like she can have this and have it for her kids later on. So I actually took one of the books, I wrote a message to her for later, and put it in a frame so that when she's older, I can give it to her and be like, here you go. Or if, God forbid, I'm not around, she can
Yeah.
open it and read the message I wrote to her.
Ooh, Maxwell. Wow. That's so thoughtful and such a beautiful gift to give your daughter who may not recognize it right now, but it will absolutely be a treasured family piece. I'm certain of it. And the fact that, you've got a long life ahead of you, God willing. You've got grandchildren that are going to read this. You have nieces and nephews that will come to experience that, like, oh my God, my cousin's in this. And like
Hmm.
my Tio did it. Oh my God, how exciting. Like, I think it's just such a beautiful gift that you've been able to give that's going to help so many people just to relax and remember the happy times, which I
Yeah.
think we all need right now. It's
Yeah.
absolutely a necessary book, I'd say. And I think well, it's holiday season, of course. It's always a great idea to give a child a book. A book is a toy that will, a quote unquote toy that will help them forever and ever. But outside of that, I still do think it's one of those books that's just going to get picked up. It's
Yeah.
just going to get purchased because there's just so much about it that really does like give you feelings. Like you kind of just want to
Hmm.
be like, oh man, okay, cool. Like I'm taking this. Like we're gonna
Yeah.
read this together. This is precious. Okay, I would love to know what the publishing process was like. I've personally never published anything and I haven't interviewed anyone that has. So, would you mind walking us through kind of like what that looks like? I'm sure it was in depth.
Yeah, I had to do a lot of research on it. I had no idea. This is my first book, first even attempt at it. And I'm self-publishing it right now, so it's definitely hard to,
Yeah.
market yourself
Yeah.
and get it out there, especially with a niche market of Cape May.
Yeah.
But so the process, I mean, I go through online and looking up what it takes to actually be known as a book, and it's the ISBN number.
Mhm.
That's on the back of the book, and it kind of gives a reference that this is your book. This is if you were in a library, they would scan the barcode, and that's the number that everybody is referencing that it's an actual book. And then you get the barcode, which then you set a price for it. Not everybody you need to set a price, but it's helpful if you, especially for wholesaling, it keeps it, at that price range.
So sorry.
No, it's all right.
So sorry.
No,
She hears
good.
my husband getting ready and she's like, it's my turn. I gotta bark.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Okay, so I apologize. So
No, it's all
we'll
right.
go back like a sentence.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so the next after the ISBN number, it's the barcode, and that
Mhm.
sets the price for the book, especially if you're wholesaling. If you're
Okay.
wholesaling, if you have it in multiple different stores, you can keep it at that price point, and people are not going to upcharge it and try to, change the price of it
Mm,
or anything like that, and it keeps it at that price range.
right.
And then I went through the process of copywriting it, copywriting the book. You have to send the whole text and everything and get that whole process going. And they come back to you saying, all right, it's copyright, you're approved for your copywriting and you said it. So after
Yeah.
that, it's a matter of just making sure you have all that information on the book itself and getting it
Mhm.
printed.
Wow. Cool. Very cool. And congrats to you for going the full mile and doing copywriting. I know a few people have
Yeah.
made some stuff and not copywritten it, but this is a long-term seller. We're looking at a like the Giving Tree level here. This is going to be out there for a while. But what was the biggest hurdle that you kind of didn't expect throughout this whole process of the creation down to getting it printed? Like, were there any real learning curves to where you're like, "Ooh, okay, pause. Like, let me figure this out."
I think it was just the ISBN number and the copywriting part. That was
Oh,
like I had no idea about any of that. I didn't even know what ISBN number was, and I had to look it up. And looking
yeah.
at other books, other children's books, and seeing what they have in them, as far as
Mm-hmm.
like what to put in the book to make sure it is copyrighted, to let people know that it's copyrighted. And
Mm-hmm.
I looked at the barcode and said, well, what is this ISBN number and where do I find that? And so just a lot of Googling and a lot of researching. Um, you know, I'm always I never thought about it, but I'm a YouTube designer, YouTube builder. I built my own patio in the backyard from YouTube.
I love it.
I cut down trees in my backyard, leveled the ground from YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm a YouTube kind of person, hands-on, always trying to figure it out myself. So that
Yeah.
was definitely the first step, and then printing. Printing was hard to find somebody that I could get a good margin on.
Hmm.
In the US, printing is very expensive.
Yeah.
So I actually went overseas to get it printed.
Okay. Cool. I think it's that seems to be honestly the biggest qualm that I hear is that US printing establishments, no matter really what you're looking to print, I'm assuming something on paper. I have friends that have fellow entrepreneurs that have tried to make planners, and I don't think a single one of them could really get any, unless they were printing 100,000 copies, which at the time just it doesn't seem like the U.S. printing model is very conducive to small makers, small business owners,
Yeah.
and that sucks. It seems like it's par for the course for smaller entrepreneurs and businesses like ourselves. So that makes total sense for sure.
Yeah, and I wanted to keep the book at a lower price range, something
Hmm.
that people are gonna want to buy, and if they see a high markup on it and they're like, I'm not gonna, I can't
Yeah.
afford that, or I want it to be affordable for anybody that,
Yeah.
wanted the book.
Yeah, and it's definitely a grab and go price point. I think even people that are, conscious right now about their spending, the book is worth every penny and it's still very affordably priced. So I think that was such a beautiful choice to make. When you're getting that first printing back, you discussed that it felt a little dark, but were there other things that you were looking for that kind of didn't fit the bill in terms of like the quality, how it felt, what it felt like looked like?
Well, I was very specific. I knew exactly how I wanted the book to print beforehand. Because I work with materials all the time as my graphic designer. I get things printed all the time, so I knew the paperweight already. I knew the feel of the cover. I knew exactly what I wanted. So when it came back to me, it was pretty much on point right away. I wanted it to be a silky cover. It almost feels like silky in the front. It's soft touch feel. I
Hmm.
wanted to feel almost, like, oh, like this is like a good quality print. And the inside pages, I wanted it to be not too glossy. I didn't want that crazy gloss shine on it, but I also didn't want it to be easy to get kids to like draw all over it either. So I was very conscious on because my daughter would, either rip the pages or draw all
Yeah.
over the cover, or if they got sticky fingers and it gets all over the inside pages. So it's easy wipeable,
Mm-hmm.
but not that crazy shine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit of a heavier weight than like a normal like paper book kind of thing.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and I knew I wanted a hardcover,
Yeah.
and
Ooh.
But when it came back to the first copy, I noticed certain things, not only about the illustrations, but the text layout of how I did it.
Mhm.
Certain parts are hard to read. It was harder to read on overlappings of the background. And so I
Oh,
either moved this text around, bumped it up either a size, or put a darker background behind it. Um, and then even about the author page, it was like at first it was like the whole page, and I'm like, no, we need to shrink this down a little bit. So little details like that.
oh, beautiful. I wondered if you ever had a moment to where, like it's done for you as someone that you like your details, you're very specific on what you'd like. Was there ever a moment when you were like, okay, printer, make these changes and we're good to go? Like, were you worried that you may want to make different changes? Or was there a moment where you're like, no, no, we're good to go. This is it. Like, we've completed our project.
I think when I sent back the edits that I made after the final copy, and I had somebody copy like read the copy over and over again. I said, edit my copy, please. Like, make sure I didn't spell anything wrong, like, and make sure the grammar is correct. And
Mhm.
I was so nervous to hit send. I think I had it on my screen with all the edits and all the final art pieces and the final, print ready files and such. And I had it on my screen, and I'm like, I think I had it for a good like half hour before I hit send. I'm like, is this the final? I kept looking at the book. I'm like, am I looking for anything else? I had my wife look at it. I had a couple other people, my mother look at it. I'm like, please look at this and like tell me if there's anything that you see and notice.
Yeah.
And then I finally hit send. I was like, whew, like, weight lifted off my shoulders. But then the anticipation of getting the rest of them back, the printing
Mhm.
back, it was a long process. It was like almost a
Oh.
2 month process to get
Mhm.
them printed and then shipped back to me.
Wow.
And it was the longest 2 months of my life, I felt like.
I love that. So when it came, were you literally like a kid on Christmas? Did you like rip the box? I love watching authors open their book box to like see that final copy. It like brings a tear to my eye every time. Like tell us about that moment. Was your daughter and wife with you when this was also happening?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So my mom, my daughter, my wife were all there when I think it was FedEx that dropped off, backed up into my driveway, and I was like, "It's here, it's here!" Like I think I even have I might be on my reels on my social media page, of me opening the box for the first time, but I ordered 1,000 books, so there was about
Wow.
16 boxes that came, and I'm like, oh great. I'm like, they're here. Where am I gonna put these?
Mhm.
You know, I don't have room
Mhm.
for these, but okay. So I'm
Yeah.
getting my hand truck and unloading them off the FedEx truck. But the excitement of just like seeing it, I was like, I want to feel it. I want to see it. And
Mhm.
I love the smell of books. Like when you open a good book, you like you start sniffing it, and so it was like, oh my God, it's here. It was like Christmas morning.
Wow, that's so special. I'm so glad that you got that moment and that you allowed yourself to have that because you worked
Yeah.
very hard to hold that final copy and now hide all these boxes under your kitchen tables and behind
Yeah.
couches until until the next level of growth.
Yeah.
Speaking of growth, what has the sales process been like for you? Have you, besides what your wife and you were able to make through your business, have you had any outside sales experience with selling something like this?
Not something like this, not the books per se, but like I work for a communications company.
Oh,
So
cool.
we do a lot of marketing for other clients, but it's like they're either their services, and what they offer, or something of that nature, but nothing of like an
Mhm.
item like this.
Mhm.
But the people I worked with had a great insight of what to do and helped me out through the process of trying to sell it for myself. I'm a very much a salesperson when it comes to like guerrilla marketing kind of thing. I
Mhm.
literally went with a box in my car, and I walked around everywhere in Cape May that I could think of that would even want to sell the book.
Mhm.
I knew a few of the business owners itself, so I had a kind of an in on some of the
Mhm.
places. But I went to each one and I started showing them the book. I said, here's my book. Like, would you be interested in selling it? I'm just starting this off. People I didn't know, I'm like, hey, like, my name is Max. I'm doing this. And they're like, they see the cover, they read through the pages and they're like, yes, like, we would love this. And one of my kindergarten teachers actually has a store in Cape May called Arden's Kids.
Oh,
And she was one of my first people that actually bought the book.
Lord.
They they bought like 12 of them, and within a couple of days they sold out.
Oh my
And so she, I
goodness.
want more.
Holy crap. Okay, I'm a big connector of like full circle moments. Has it occurred to you that the woman that would read you books just like this in kindergarten purchased your book to sell to keep that cycle going? Like
It
I'm
was
like
like
visibly bawling right now. I can't even
yeah,
handle it. It's so
it
beautiful.
was like it was like a dream come true. She got emotional, I got emotional. It was like a and I always remembered her as my teacher. It was like it was her first year teaching, my first year at that school.
Oh my
Um,
God.
it was like, it was a dream come true, and just to be able to have my book in her shop was like, it had all the feels going. Like I couldn't
Oh
even
man.
comprehend it at the time, but yeah, it was a magical experience to see. And then she's like, my student wrote this book, and people come in, and she tells them like, yeah, my student wrote this kind of
Oh
thing.
my God.
She has it up on the
Wow.
counter as a signed copy that I signed to her, and so she shows everybody.
That's so beautiful. I think it's I I have a knack for being able to pick out people that have created something out of just a really beautiful place, and it always 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 leads them on this journey to where the little kid inside of them gets to be a part of this too. And I
Mm.
think that moment with your teacher, for me, it's so I am so thankful that there are entrepreneurs that are doing things with passion and with their heart, and it's not always about making money, and it's about the impact that you create and the feelings and the emotions that come that are hopefully positive from people using what it is that you made. And your story is just so in line with that. It feels very divinely put together for you, which is rare but really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I always said when I got them printed, I got the books. I said even if they don't sell, I don't care
Hmm.
if they don't sell. I
Hmm.
just, it was for my daughter. Like,
Hmm.
this is gonna be something that she can be say like my dad wrote a book about me. It wasn't. I was like, if I sell 100 of them, cool. I was like, I don't even care if I made my money back for the books. Like it
Hmm.
was just something for her as like a takeaway.
Yeah. Ugh, it's insane. So insane. I didn't think I'd be crying so much today. So thank you, Max. This has been beautiful to have all these feels. We're recording on a
Yeah.
Sunday. This is airing on Tuesday. So, guys, there are going to be tons of links in the show notes. Buy this book. If you buy it hearing this today, Tuesday, you might be able to get it in time for Christmas. If not, it's still a beautiful New Year's Eve book to give out. Um,
I'll
I
be doing
always
another
ask,
book signing
oh,
too.
where? Where?
West End Garage next
Oh, that's right.
Saturday, 11 to 3. Stop by,
Beautiful.
it's day before Christmas Eve, last minute Christmas gift. Let me know. I'll be there.
Okay, I will put that in the show notes so people can get out there for that. Um, if you had to pick what your next book might be, actually, will there be a next book for you? Do you feel like this is a process that you've enjoyed and you want to keep going down this road?
At first, I was like, I'm not writing anymore. I'm not doing this again. Like that. It was a labor of love, 2 years in the making. But I will say I have written and I'm illustrating the next book already, in the works of doing it now. So, like I said, I had never knew what I wanted to write about, but
Mhm.
my daughter is my muse. So she came home from school and she said that she's starting to notice skin tone.
Oh.
And so I was like, wow, this is early. Like, I'm half black and half white. And my mother is African American, and she hangs out with her grandmother all the time, and it's never been a thought in her mind of skin tone. But
Hmm.
she came from school one day and asked about it. So I was like, well, I guess I have to write a book about it.
Hmm.
Um, and growing up in this area, I was always, confused of you know, what am I? Like, I didn't know if I fit in anywhere really.
Hmm.
So I told her, I was like, well, who do you play with at school? And she was mostly telling me about the white little girl and boy that she plays with at school. And I said, well, what about so and so? And she says, no. I said, well, why? And she goes, because they cry too much. So I was like, okay, so it had nothing to do with their skin tone.
Yep.
But so the next book is called Colors of Friendship.
Oh, Max, that's so beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, so
Really beautiful.
that's coming in the works. Probably another year out, but hopefully working on that one.
Man, you are a go-getter. You're a high achiever. This feels like just the beginning for you, although I'm sure you've been on this maker's path for quite some time and all of your skill sets have kind of like coalesced to get you to this exact point. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for sharing such an intimate look at how your daughter has helped kind of manifest this all for you. It's really special. It's really special.
Thank you.
Thank you
I
for
appreciate
letting
you
us all.
having
Oh, that of course. Oh, I have one final question that I ask every guest.
Yes.
Max, how do you make your life rich?
How do I make my life rich?
Hmm.
Um, Memories,
Ooh, beautiful.
experiences. That's what feels rich to me.
Mhm.
If I can experience the world with my daughter and my family and be happy and travel and see everything that we need to see and do. I doesn't care about money. I don't care about money. I'm rich of love and happiness. So
Mm.
that's what makes my life rich.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And Max, thank you for being on. This was so special. I didn't think I'd cry so much today, but guys, links in the show notes. If you are in the area, there will be a book signing. I'll put all the information for that down below and the address in case you're not familiar where that is. Do not delay. Buy your books. You can get in time for Christmas. And stay tuned because there will be more from Max Moran and his beautiful family and what will hopefully be a library full of books.
Thank you so much.
Okay.